Thank you very much. Thank you, SIANI, and the co-organizers for inviting us. And I would like to thank you on behalf of myself and the Nordic Africa Institute. Today, I just would want to share with you on water, which is a specific resource, but which is increasingly has become very important and central in many countries, particularly because for developing countries or area countries which have rural development issues, rural poverty, and so on, water has become even more important. And added to this is a changing climate, which has put agriculture in a more vulnerable situation, as indicated earlier by the President. So there is a renewed political interest. Also, multiple kind of national and international agencies are also involved in these activities. So one particular undertaking in this is irrigation. Irrigation, also medium and large scale dams are being constructed. So my point today is, this is very important, but in terms of sustainability, in terms of inducing new kind of production organization, those are aspects that need further research. We at the Nordic Africa Institute, we are studying, one of our case studies, Blue Nile. Particularly, we are focusing on the upper Blue Nile in Ethiopia. This is one of our case study. And in this region, the area is quite rich in water resources, but traditionally farmers are dependent on rain-fed agriculture. But recently, there are a lot of efforts being undergoing. These are some of the sites where irrigation schemes are being developed. So part of this scheme is also construction of large-scale dams. And interestingly, this time, smallholder farmers are the major beneficiaries. So it means there is a huge reorganization in terms of land allocation, how people are settled, moving people from the irrigation area somewhere else settle, but also at the same time to have equitable land access to irrigation. This is one of the schemes that we are examining. It's about 7,000 hectares, and there are about 10,000 smallholder farmers that are included. It has been running for the last 4 or 5 years. So it's a very interesting case. So there are many of these sites. This is one of the sites. So these are the sites that are being developed, different dams in different locations. Very interesting. So I think what I would like to share with you is, this is very important undertaking, but what are the kind of issues in terms of managing this common good, in terms of governance, institutions, organizations, and how can we scale, the kind of management and marketing and production system in this area. These are kind of new dimensions which need to be studied more concretely, because the emphasis so far has been on building the infrastructure. Farmers are entering into production, but those dimensions need to be explored much more to ensure sustainability of the dam and so on. So before I go to the concluding remark, I will go point by point. It is like managing the common. The dams have created, the need to manage the water system, the canal system, and all those, and the production, farms, plots that individual households, share. So beyond the technology, what kind of collaboration do those farmers have on the ground in terms of how to clean the canal system? What kind of cost mechanisms are being put to recover cost of operation and maintenance of the water system? And also, the idea is for the government to transfer the management of the canal system to smallholder farmers, which they must organize themselves into water cooperatives and water use associations. So in terms of, there are new directives that are being drafted in terms of clarifying who should be involved with, what are the conditions to engage those smallholder farmers into water use associations, what are the obligations, and what are the benefits, and all these things. But at the same time, those elements need time in order to be internalized by the users. So in terms of awareness creation, in terms of capacity building, and in terms of assisting those farmers who are using the water to be able to take and have this kind of ownership, sense of ownership about the water resources is one of the main critical aspects of it. So the conditions for this multi-stakeholder management of water resources has become quite very, very important. Similarly, the transfer, as I mentioned, the transfer of the canal management to smallholder farmers has been quite slow. I mean, the idea was after 5 years of production, the expectation was farmers would take over the management, but not yet. In terms of capacity, the financial strength hasn't really developed that much. And one of the main reasons for this one is, when you have this kind of multi-stakeholder investment, including the government, development agencies that have spent like millions of US dollars. But on the other hand, the process of self-organization that should come up from the land users themselves is so complicated. Like 10,000 smallholder farmers, they need to organize, they need to find ways to organize themselves. But they need assistance also from the government. So the general challenges here is also another point which I need to mention is also upstream areas. Farmers who are in the upstream need to exercise conservation management. And how is this scheme going to pay that kind of environmental service for upstream land users?
1 minute.
Thank you. So basically, I think, as I mentioned earlier, it's important to have this physical infrastructure, but it's time to move to those, the institutions, the governance, and the production system, which I mentioned, which I didn't mention, is also the marketing system, because they need to earn a decent returns, and this depends, the value of the crop that they produce. Nurturing also new production and marketing system, which should be tuned to what they are doing. It's about vegetables, perishable products, which could be produced twice a year. But in terms of having secure market that's profitable is very big challenge. I mean, the national policies need to shift more focus on how to build skills and capacities of smallholder farmers, but also promoting relevant, small-scale, affordable agro-processing technologies in those areas, high-potential areas, and promote specialty and niche markets for these products. Well, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.